Hey there, fans of MrRipper and Riptovia. Brian Von VA here, back at it again. Today we've got another doozy. Silly Monk gets jobs done. I don't know, I just kinda want to talk about some of the dumb things my monk has done in a long-running campaign, from like level 3 to currently 18. 5th edition with homebrew setting. TLDR of his stuff. Raised in woods by Goliaths that never spoke, mostly just chased him and forced him to do training-like actions, became a survivalist, whatever is necessary way of the open-hand punchy man that has since been given a few lore bonuses as an adopted Goliath prince that is magically slightly mutated, all kinda later on but reskinned unrelenting rage, cast shield as a reaction a number of times up to his current level per day, cool knife magically teleports back. TLDR party, me, half-elf with homebrew better warlock, kobold with homebrew, FF blue mage. DM does all rolls where we can see, and we all understand that if the dice gods decide we die, or if we f*** up very badly, this is an unforgiving setting. Somehow we're all still alive though, and these stories are mostly times where things were easier than expected. First story. In a very early on session, we failed to stop a cult that we were asked to investigate the area to find. We found the camp, spied a little, and the elf ended up getting caught. She took heavy damage from the initial fire of heavy crossbows mounted on their walls, and I carried her while the kobold and I ran. Kobold got hit while running. Getting slowed down by that, we ended up damaged and surrounded by cultists with crossbows already aimed on us. I personally could have probably gotten away alone still, with my high movement and ability to just jump right up into the tree canopy, which as a survivalist who met these people 2 days ago would have still been in character, but figured he really didn't want 2 of the 4 people he's actually gotten to speak to since finding society this week to die. Puts down the elf, throws up his arms and yells, "Don't shoot! You need prisoners, right?" So we end up in their prison, which, because they didn't knock me out or put a bag over my head, I knew was in the underground floor of a stone tower. I notice the cell doors are pretty old and kinda rusty, and begin to hatch a plan. When the elf wakes up, we have her use a spell to light the wooden ceiling and floor above us on fire, and I start hitting the door. Of the things the cultists took, they didn't take my gauntlets, just my staff and low-quality damaged sword. What they didn't know was my new gauntlets had a knockback effect. So, as a high-strength character with another key point knockback effect and a few good rolls, I could viably break a rusty iron bar door off its hinges. The surprise fire and collapsing floor took care of a bunch of the low-level cultists, and the windows I saw in the tower meant smoke had somewhere to go instead of killing us. We proceeded up the stone stairs and managed to get to the exit without falling back down. A few cultists and tents aren't much issue, but we still haven't found the leader or our stuff. Kobold Blue Mage can breathe poison clouds, and I ended up using him like a shoulder-mounted poison gun. There's another spot inside this fort, an underground passage that leads 60 feet or so to the leader's chamber or ritual room, where our stuff also is. But we took so long that he was in the final moments of the ritual to turn himself into a wrath god. So we failed to stop the cult. Apparently, our presence made them move up the schedule. The now flaming giant smashes through the ground above us. Lucky me, I have the athlete feat and can nope out of there, high jump without needing to waste a bunch of movement on a running start, and scramble the rest of my way up out of the newly formed pit. The flaming giant wrath demigod is now focused on me as the first person to do anything. Great. DM rolls initiative. With the boss focused on me, the kobold grabs our stuff, and the tiny, no-strength guy has to roll strength checks to drag 3 adventurers' worth of equipment and stuff back through the tunnel. The elf climbs the wall out. Lucky for us, we all rolled higher initiative thanks to all 3 of us taking the alert feat with that nice +11 to initiative. I sprint over towards the wall knowing the boss should follow me. The right-hand man to the boss is a mage and just flies out of the pit, about to have a mage fight with elf. I asked the DM if I can roll to see if I would know anything about people turning themselves into demigods. Was raised in those woods because my book merchant parents were attacked and killed while traveling through them when I was just old enough to have learned to read. So I spent a lot of free time over those years just reading whatever was in the carriage. DM lets me roll. I roll well and ask, "Alright, does he eventually burn out?" a human vessel can't last forever while channeling godly power, right? He says that's theoretically what should happen, according to what I remember. Good enough for me, so I start abusing my athlete high jumping, climbing, not affecting movement to kite the boss through the fort's walls. They're only wood, but crashing through them will still slow it down. And since it will be blindly raging towards where it saw me, it won't actually be near further along the wall where I run to when out of sight. Proceed to kite it through the wall multiple times while watching a flying mage throw spells at elf and vice versa. Kobold struggling to drag equipment through the tunnel for multiple rounds. He's just a really nice guy and thinks we probably have stuff that would help us in our bags. By the time he gets to sunlight, I've had the boss crashing through half the fort's wall, and our elf/enemy mage are both pretty roughed up. He joins in, and they manage to take the mage down. We survive a few more rounds, and the giant angry fireman burns out. 3 level 3 adventurers just failed to stop a cult, got captured, and managed to win, a fight against a demigod, all hinging on me being a punchy man who specialized in running away like a bitch, and using knockback effects to make people think I could hit harder than I actually could. Second story. This one is much shorter. We were like level 5, I think? We were in an underground area, some deep chasms in some places, very scary rumbling, growling, and roaring sometimes comes from them. DM trusts us to understand this means falling equals die. Near the end of our journey through this area, we are accosted by an incubus. He starts by flying down from the shadows and taunting us. We were near a cliff edge, and since that is the direction he flew from, he came up to that edge. Alert allows us to all roll high initiative again, something the DM is now taking note of, being we are unusually getting to go first. I turn around, punch the incubus in the face, and tell the DM he has to roll a dex save. He's just like, okay, for what? Rolls? 7. So I look at him and tell him that when I landed the hit, I spent a key point to activate one of the open hand skills. The incubus is knocked prone. He's still over the abyss, since we were standing at the edge and he flew up to us. He got knocked prone into the abyss. This was supposed to be the area boss right before we found the strange magic we were investigating. DM even said this one was supposed to be one of the harder ones on the scale. It was eaten by a hydra that couldn't climb up to us, and we went home after finding the magic orb. Third story. I honestly have no idea when exactly in the campaign this happened anymore. I think it was before the second story. So we are sent to clear out a mine and forge that was invaded and taken over by a tribe of kobolds. Money for me and the elf, and it's potentially related to our kobold's personal quest to pull his mother out of being essentially a captive, while his dad, tribe leader, sides with a goblin king in a big war that is constantly happening to the north. While there, we meet an ogre, who shall be affectionately referred to as Ogre. He was already in the mine with the kobolds and goblins, but seemed to be chasing some of them, so we didn't attack on sight. So Ogre joins up with us, and after a bit, we leave the mine to rest. He breaks out the stew pot and makes us all dinner. Whole party now wants to marry him because his stew is just that good. All 3 of us like the fact that he's just outright strong enough to yeet us 20 feet into the air at flying enemies. But we're not done here yet. Our dinner is interrupted by the source of the undead kobold we encountered along the way, an incredibly powerful necromancer that was an important reoccurring NPC in the DM's previous campaign in this setting that only the elf was a part of. Now, this guy is a total nutjob. He could fairly easily have killed us, even with the presence of Ogre, who was much higher level than any of us at the time. He could also have decided to just throw around some spells for a while after attacking us there and then faked his death. So we all rolled up initiative, and the first thing I do is yell at him, "Hey, attacking us without even introducing yourself is rude, you know. We never even got to talk!" Hoping to throw this dude, I had no idea who was yet, off. Maybe distract him so everyone has a chance to prepare whatever they got to throw at him. DM rolls a die, sighs, and says, Alright, everyone can drop initiative for the moment. He floats down and walks towards you and apologizes while introducing himself and saying he was investigating a source of magic in a cave just up the mountain a bit. None of us really trusted him, but all our insight rolls tell us that if nothing else, he really did drop all hostility, even if he did stab our elf a few times while directly controlling that undead kobold, which she still has not dropped every other time we've met him. With our actual mission completed and this dude not turning us into zombies, it was a success. He even left with a favorable impression of us, even helped us during a boss fight once, just kinda appeared while we were trying to fight a boss and a handful of other enemies without the group of their captives between us all dying. He decided we were friends apparently. Sometimes the guy who punches things just ends up doing a really good job. Good job, Philip Booksworth. Hey everyone, Brian Von Via here representing Riptovia and MrRipper. Be sure to check out MrRipper, our main channel, for more D&D stories, not quite like this one, more so story threads. That also being said, please leave a like here, subscribe, and ring that bell so you can get notified whenever we post or if we ever do go live on this channel when we go live.